Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Kurak Badash. All praises, honor, glory, love, respect, faith, and power, and trust, and all credit to my Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and my Heavenly Big Brother, Yahweh Shah. Thank you so much for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of GMS, Great Millstone, who I learned from, and all the men scattered all over the world, teaching this truth, and none but the truth, in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. Trying to put a spiritual bug in you Hebrew Israelites' ears, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, and you speckled birds. And what is a speckled bird? That'd be a Hebrew Israelite that look like some of the heathen nations, like, for example, a Hebrew Israelite that look like a so-called white person, a so-called Chinese person, etc., etc. Got some videos lined up on what's going on financially with, around the world, most of it in America, but there's some financial issues going on with other countries and America. But anyway, I'm going to play these videos. I'm going to get into the scripture my best ability to say whatever God say through spirit and power. Yahweh Bashim Shah, the Holy Spirit, the Kurak Badash. Lord willing, be on me. Let's get it.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here. I would like to remind you that you're welcome to watch this video and my upcoming interviews with experts, as well as my prior content on my Patreon and Substack. Paid subscribers. Britain has just received a warning from the bond market. Yes, yet another warning. The new government figures show that UK borrowing in May, which is the most recent data, came in significantly higher than economists expected, which raises fresh concerns about the country's fiscal outlook and the sustainability of its public finances. Now, at first glance, government borrowing may sound like a technical issue, a very boring one, and only economists would care about this. But hear me out. History tells us something very different, actually. When governments borrow more than expected, investors and foreign actors start asking very difficult questions. And those questions are, well, how much debt is too much? Who will buy all the new government bonds? At what interest rate are you going to issue that? And what happens if investors begin demanding higher interest rates to lend money? Those questions are very uncomfortable, and they are now emerging in Britain, and the consequences could extend far beyond the UK. The latest figures show that the British government borrowed substantially more than economists had anticipated during May. This is a trend. This is not a one-off. Government borrowing occurs when spending exceeds tax revenues. And so to cover that gap, or to cover that deficit, in other words, the government issues bonds, and they are purchased by investors, by pension funds, by banks, and foreign institutions. Now, borrowing itself is not, of course, unusual. Most advanced economies run budget deficits. We know that very well. The United States runs a budget deficit, and it has been for over a decade. The problem arises when borrowing consistently exceeds expectations, especially at a time when interest rates remain elevated and when economic growth remains very, very sluggish. For investors, the latest data raises concerns that Britain may need to issue even more debt than previously anticipated, and that is bad news. That is exactly why financial markets reacted so quickly. Several factors are at play here. There are several factors that are putting pressure on Britain's public finances. Let's run through the list of these factors. First, debt servicing costs remain very high. Over the past several years, interest rates increased dramatically as central banks around the world fought inflation. And guess what? Inflation is rising. Inflation is sticky. So yes, interest rates are going to remain as is, or they may continue rising. And that means governments must now pay much more interest on existing debt. Now, the second factor is quite interesting too. Economic growth remains weak. When growth slows, tax revenues often disappoint as well. Businesses generate less profit, consumers spend less because they feel they need to save all the income that they can, and of course governments collect less tax revenue than they forecast. Now, there is a third factor as well. Britain continues to face significant spending pressures. Healthcare costs are rising, infrastructure investment remains necessary, and defense spending, or offense spending as one would argue, is increasing amid a more, let's say, uncertain geopolitical environment that is fueled by extreme warmongering. And also social welfare expenditures remain quite elevated. Together, these factors create a very difficult fiscal equation. Spending remains high while revenues struggle to keep pace. So you see the issue here. The result is larger deficits and more borrowing. Perhaps the most important reaction came from the bond market. Following the borrowing figures, yields on UK government bonds moved higher. Why does that matter, you would ask? Well, because bond yields determine the cost of borrowing. When investors become concerned about fiscal sustainability, when they question, well, how long can this go on before things start to crack? When that happens, they often demand higher returns to compensate for the actual risk or for perceived risks. Higher yields increase borrowing costs for governments, but the effects do not stop there. That means mortgage rates can rise, business borrowing costs can increase and will increase, and economic growth will slow. In other words, the bond market can become a powerful force. Investors may not vote in elections, but they can certainly influence government policy through the price that they demand to finance public debt. And Britain is now finally facing the result of its own policy, right? And right now, the bond market appears to be signaling growing caution. Many experts still remember what happened in Britain back in 2022. The government announced large unfunded tax cuts. Remember that? Well, financial markets reacted negatively then. Bond yields surged, the pound actually fell sharply, and the Bank of England was forced to intervene to stabilize markets. And while today's situation is very, very different, I'm not saying it's the same, but this episode actually demonstrated an important reality. Even advanced economies with deep financial markets are not immune from investor concerns about fiscal credibility. That is the lesson that hopefully the British elites will be able to learn from this. The bond market can move very, very quickly when confidence begins to weaken. Once borrowing costs rise, governments often face very difficult choices, and those choices are raise taxes, cut spending, or borrow even more. Now, the first two are very politically unappealing. And so, of course, borrowing is the default option. None of those options are politically easy either way. Britain is not the only country that is facing rising debt burdens, by the way. Across the developed world, governments accumulated enormous debts during the pandemic and then subsequent economic shocks. Today, many countries are confronting the same challenge. Higher interest rates have dramatically increased debt servicing costs. Governments must now refinance old debt at much higher yields, while fiscal deficits remain stubbornly large. The United States, for example, faces very similar concerns. Britain is not the only country facing rising debt burdens. Across the developed world, governments accumulate.
Pretty much, they're gonna have to let this shit go. They're gonna have to let it go, let it crash, and bring out the chip implants. So this one is all leading to anyway. Let's get to the next one. Going on South Korea.
South Korea's central bank is warning of a new and unusual inflation risk, not just from global energy prices, but from massive performance bonuses being paid in the country's tech sector. Workers at major chip makers are receiving payouts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and economists say this could start pushing prices and wages higher across the economy. The Bank of Korea says inflation this year is already running above target at 2.7%, compared to its 2% goal, while much of that increase has been driven by energy price shocks linked to the Iran conflict. Officials now warn a second pressure point is emerging: wages, while the concern centers on unusually large performance bonuses in the semiconductor industry. At companies like SK Hynix and Samsung Electronics, workers are seeing extraordinary payouts tied to directly company profits. Now, under recent wage agreements, about 10% of operating profits at SK Hynix and roughly 10.5% at Samsung's semiconductor division are being distributed as bonuses. But in some cases, the numbers are striking. A chip worker earning a base salary of around 80 million won could receive a total bonus of about 626 million won, or roughly $410,000. At SK Hynix, payouts could exceed 700 million won per worker if annual profits reach around 250 trillion won, and that is approximately $163.7 billion. The central bank says bonuses are usually temporary and don't strongly affect inflation, but these payouts are different. Officials warn that if such exceptional bonuses spread, they could fuel broader wage growth and increase consumer demand. Early signs are already visible in parts of Gyeonggi province. Near major chip manufacturing hubs, card spending is rising faster than the national average. Luxury consumption is also surging. One department store reported luxury sales up 53.6% year-on-year, with jewelry up 146.3% and luxury watches up 85.3%. Investors are betting on this spending boom. Retail stocks have surged sharply this year. The lottery shopping is up about 148% year-to-date, including a 67% jump in just 3 months. Hyundai department store up 120% year-to-date, with a 113% 3-month gain. Shinsegae soaring 190% year-to-date, more than doubling in 3 months.
Hey everyone, big heads up, Paleo Valley is running a sale on all their meat sticks right now. You can get 30 sticks for $36.
Well, it happened. The United States and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding at the Palace of Versailles to end over 100 days of war. Great stuff. The Strait of Hormuz will reopen, the bombs will stop, and the bill has arrived. And much like that one friend who orders shots for the whole bar and then suddenly realizes they left their wallet in their other pants, the United States agreed to a $300 billion reconstruction fund for the country it just finished bombing. It agreed to waive, though not permanently lift, sanctions that have been in place for decades. It agreed to defer the nuclear question to a 60-day negotiating window, meaning the issue the war was started to resolve remains unresolved. Iran's deputy foreign minister called it a victory. American households paid $41 billion in extra fuel costs over the duration of the conflict. 50 million barrels were drained from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Treasury yields hit 18-year highs. Consumer confidence hit an all-time low. And on the same day the deal was signed, the same day, China added 26 international banks, including Standard Chartered, to its cross-border digital yuan payment network. Talk about immaculate vibes and even better timing, right? While America was signing paperwork with Iran, China was essentially running around the financial playground collecting everyone's lunch money. The war is over, the dollar damage is permanent, and the question this video answers is not who won the war, it is who won the aftermath. Iran got paid, China got a payment system, Europe got sovereignty, America got the bill. My name is Elle, I have a PhD in computer science, and I use data analysis to spot patterns in geopolitics and economics, which basically means I'm incredibly fun at dinner parties, provided you want to talk about the collapse of fiat currency over appetizers. And the pattern across these three outcomes, Iran's reconstruction windfall, China's financial infrastructure expansion, and Europe's sovereign build-out, is that every one of them was accelerated by the exact same event. The Iran war did not just cost the United States money, it cost the United States structural advantages that took decades to build and that cannot be rebuilt by signing a piece of paper in France. Let's start with the dollar. The petrodollar system, which is the arrangement since the 1970s, where global oil trade is denominated in US dollars, creating permanent structural demand for the currency, has been under pressure for years now. The Iran war accelerated that pressure into a sprint. When the Strait of Hormuz closed back in March, 20% of the world's daily oil supply was disrupted significantly. Countries that depended on Gulf oil discovered overnight that their energy security was hostage to an American foreign policy decision they had no say in. They needed alternatives. Well, China provided one. Project Enbridge, which is the cross-border central bank digital currency platform operated by the central banks of China, Hong Kong, Thailand, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, has now processed over $55 billion in transactions, a 2,500-fold increase since 2022. China's KIPS payment system hit 1.2 trillion yuan in a single day in April. The digital yuan has processed over 3.4 billion transactions worth $2.4 trillion, an increase of over 800% since 2023. And on June 17th, China added 26 banks to the network, including Standard Chartered, one of the most internationally connected banking institutions on the planet. Every one of those developments was already in motion before the war, and the war made them very urgent. If you've been following this channel's coverage of de-dollarization, this is the chapter where the trend becomes infrastructure. But the dollar story is 1/3 of the aftermath. The European story is equally significant and has received far less attention in the financial press, I think, because it is not denominated in a single dramatic number like $300 billion. It is denominated in dozens of institutional decisions that collectively add up to the most comprehensive sovereignty build-out in the continent's modern history, and the war was the catalyst for nearly all of them. During the 100 days of the Iranian conflict, Europe built or accelerated sovereign replacements across every strategic sector simultaneously. For defense, European procurement shifted overwhelmingly to European suppliers. Only 8% of Germany's military purchases now go to American companies. Sweden chose French frigates. France chose Swedish surveillance aircraft. Canada chose Saab over Boeing. Airbus and Saab.
And then, what are the European nations, what are they doing? They rejecting tech, U.S. tech stuff, like operating systems. I don't know what else. All I can think of is operating systems, and they want to go with make their own type of EU operating system or whatever, or the BRICS. I don't know. All I can tell you, they don't want to have nothing to do with America, Babylon the Great. Nothing to do with their money, their military equipment or tools or weapons. None of that shit. Anyway.
Entered discussions to build Europe's 6th-generation fighter. 9 countries joined France's nuclear umbrella. The US withdrew all submarines from NATO. On the technology front, the European Parliament replaced Google with Quant.
Yeah.
Euro Office launched a sovereign Microsoft 365 alternative.
They don't want that shit.
France ditched Windows for Linux and Teams for Visio. Honestly, getting rid of mandatory Windows updates and Teams notification sounds might just be the biggest win for European mental health this decade.
Yeah, because, I mean, goddamn, the updates are garbage. Even NVIDIA updates are garbage. It's like, they might as well just stop with the updates. Because all they're going to do is just fuck up your computer.
France and Germany both fired Palantir from their intelligence services and hired the
That shit.
same French replacement. The Netherlands blocked a US takeover of its digital identity system. The EU blocked
Yeah, they're going to have their own shit.
Starlink from expanding into European spectrum. Thales built sovereign
Even though they're separating from America, Babylon's tech and all that other shit, guess what? The chip implant's still going to be in motion. Yeah, the chip and the New World Order still going to be in motion. It's just that America not going to be the strongest country or nation when this shit goes down, but hey, the shit's still going to be in motion regardless.
cloud entities around Google's technology. Then on trade, the EU signed deals with Mexico and Mercosur. Canada joined SAFE. Finland's president called for a 40-member EU, including Canada and the UK. Then if we're talking about payments, Wero expanded to 48 million users across 13 countries. On the energy front, wind investment returns €7 for every one invested. Canada signed LNG and hydrogen corridor agreements with Germany. Every single one of these decisions that I was just mentioning was made during or immediately after the Iran war, and every single one of them reduces Europe's dependence on the United States. If you're trying to understand how to see through the noise of daily headlines and spot structural realignments before they become consensus, my book, chapter. But let's for a second talk about European finance as well. The European Central Bank's rate hike this week, the first since 2023, is part of the same picture. Lagarde raised rates to 2.25% because inflation driven by the Iran war's oil shock had reached 3.2% in the Eurozone. She described the decision as robust across all scenarios. Europe is not waiting for Washington to stabilize global energy markets. It is managing its own monetary policy around the damage Washington caused and building the infrastructure to ensure it never has to absorb that kind of imported shock again. The ECB hiked rates to fight inflation caused by an American war. The war just ended, but the inflation has not. The structural damage to the dollar system is now measurable across every metric this channel has been tracking. U.S. Treasury holdings by foreign governments are at their lowest levels in years. China at an 18-year low. Japan dumping at the fastest pace since 2022. Total foreign holdings down 240 billion in a single month. The 30-year bond auction this week cleared at a higher yield than expected. Fund participation collapsed. Central banks are not showing up to auctions. The Federal Reserve has stopped forward guidance, meaning it can hike rates at any meeting without warning. The Fed has officially entered its chaotic villain era. They aren't dropping hints anymore. They're just pulling rate hikes out of a hat like a stressed-out magician. The probability of a hike before December is above 80%, and the peace deal itself did not produce a market rally. Stocks fell during the Fed meeting because markets understand that the damage from 100 days of Hormuz disruption is already embedded in prices, supply chains, and cost structures. Oil flowing again helps. It does not undo what already happened. In terms of what's going to happen next, the prediction is that the petrodollar share of global oil settlement will likely decline measurably over the next 2 years as Enbridge scales, KIPS expands, and countries that lived through the Hormuz closure build permanent alternative payment rails. But once again, these videos are not financial advice. Do not change any of your positions off the back of them. Europe's sovereign infrastructure build out across defense, technology, energy, payments, cloud, AI, and trade will likely continue to accelerate regardless of whether the Iran war resumes or not, because the institutional decisions are already made and the contracts are already signed. The dollar will likely remain the world's primary reserve currency for some years, but the margin of dominance will continue to narrow with every central bank that joins Enbridge, every European institution that ditches an American platform, and every treasury auction where the buyers demand higher yields just to show up. The Iran war lasted 100 days, but the reconstruction of the global financial order it accelerated will last a generation or likely more. If you want a full analysis of the Iran deal itself, what was signed at Versailles, what was deferred to the 60-year window, and what both
Hanky, with respect to the US dollar, I think that topic sort of dominates discussions as well. Several weeks ago, the World Gold Council actually published a report on gold taking over the US dollar as a global reserve asset. In recent weeks, the US dollar has strengthened against foreign currencies. What impact do you expect the war against Iran to have on the dollar in the long term, if any? And what does it really mean for the global demand for the US dollar in the near term? So sort of two parts of the question.
Okay, well, during the war, it strengthened a bit, and if the war really ends, and we start moving into a new regime, because we're not going to move back to the old regime, by the way. We're going to move to a whole new global geopolitical framework, I think. But and with that,
I'm guessing he talking about the way we buy and sell, monetary system. Yeah, and the new monetary system is gonna be digital, and it's gonna require you to have a microchip inside your body.
I think we'll see the dollar, coming off the strength that it's been on in the last 2 or 3 months, but not much. It's still very strong.
Well, it could be. See, that's that. The title says. It makes it seem like when you read the title, it makes it seem like, what it says, debunking de-dollarization, debunking it. But the dollar is being devalued. I mean, there is. We gonna see what's gonna be. But people like, especially her, she'll say some shit about the dollar is still strong. But how long is it gonna stay strong? It ain't gonna stay strong forever. Fuck no. And either way, I mean, the dollar be strong or not, shit, they still gonna switch over to digital. Shit, and then, when it comes to that digital shit, you're gonna need a chip implant. So, whatever. I mean, hell. James chapter 5, might as well go ahead and read this. James chapter 5 verse 1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl, for your measure shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth eaten. Your garments, and your garments are moth eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and your money ain't worth a damn. That dollar ain't worth a damn. And the rest of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it will fire. Ye have harbored up treasures for the last days. And a lot of these people, they taking these elites, they taking the peasants' money from their 401ks, their all, was it a Doge? Them niggas there, they fired all those folks, and somehow they took all that damn money that belonged to them people, belonged to all them federal workers. They got fired, and they did some shit where now they taking that money and invested in AI and all that monkey ass shit. Yeah, and they trying to figure out all the Social Security, taking that shit away. They trying to drain all you people's savings, money, or whatever you got invested. They trying to take all that shit away just for you to be in a shitty situation where you have to take the chip implant, pretty much, to sum it all up. Let me get back to the video.
One thing people just don't get, there's all this talk about, and you mentioned the Gold Council's report. That is true. The central banks have been buying gold, and they just did a survey, and 45% of there are over 60 central banks that were surveyed, and over 45% of them indicate that they're going to be buying this year. There's only one central bank out of the 60 plus that they surveyed that indicated that they were going to be liquidating any gold. All of the central banks are buying gold, and so they've been adding the quantities of gold, and they have also been realizing capital appreciations because the price of gold, in the short term, it's gone down a little bit, but over the last year, it's gone up. So what's that mean? That means you've got
It's going up, but if it hasn't gone down, because last time I checked, that shit was pitiful, man. Gold and silver look pitiful. Look, yeah, goodness gracious, that shit look pitiful. I mean, 4,000 is pretty high compared to what it was. I think about was it 2025? It was at least 2,000. I can't remember. Hold on. I think it was. Let me look up. Look this shit up. How much was 1 ounce of gold back in 2025? Of what year? Opening the year at $2,600 and finishing at, so at the end around, it was about that much, $4,400 at the end. But then it was like 2,000, but hell, it went up pretty good, pretty fast. I mean, to say not pretty good, but pretty fast in like 2005. But silver is, man, that shit there, it was like 80. It was like an average of 80 for a while, but now that motherfucker down to 60. Shit.
more tonnage of gold on your asset.
Soon it will go up, and you be wondering when is the best time to get rid of that shit. I don't know.
On the asset side of your balance sheet, and the valuation per ton is higher than it was before you started adding more tons, and as a result, the value of the gold has gone up, and now is a little bit greater than the dollar-denominated assets that are on the balance sheets of the central banks. That's what's been going on. So, and I think that will continue, but that doesn't mean the dollar is going to be, in the tank as a result.
Bruh, anyway, I don't even know if I want to play this shit no more, because these folks, they just think the dollar's gonna stay. It's just like the America is gonna stay strong. No, it got to go. All these material things got to go. It's got to lose value. It got to go, man. And who's making it go bye-bye or go weak and all that is the Lord. Yahweh Shema Shah. It's got to go, bruh. Anyway, I don't want to hear this shit no more. I don't want to hear about debunking de-dollarization, because nigga, that's bullshit. Let's get to the next one. If you want to watch the rest of it, then that's on you. There go the title up, there go her channel. But nigga, this shit is garbage. The dollar is garbage, and people are tired of it. I'm tired of this whole world. Shit, and everybody about to switch over to digital shit. Let's get to the next one.
What security measures protect customer data and transaction information?
Alternative would be a worldwide depression. You know, the stupid people want to have a worldwide depression. Alternative would be a worldwide depression. You know, the stupid people want to have a worldwide depression. And
I guess they talking about the prophets of Yahweh Shema Shah, because we the ones that really want a worldwide depression for sure. Yeah, doing right. We the ones that want that shit to go down, because the only way we gonna go forward with the kingdom coming is a lot of pain and suffering before the kingdom. And yeah, we want the worldwide, and we're not stupid. You're stupid, you fucking red, or no, you orange nigger. But anyway,
the stupid people. So you can only go so.
And someone like him is creating this damn on a low level. He creating this damn worldwide depression under the authority of Yahweh Shema Shah, of course.
So far, you drive somebody into the ground and a lot of bad things happen. Number one, the strait would never open because they don't like floating billion-dollar ships up and down a strait when there are rockets flying over them and mines all over the place. So.
And with those words, I would get ready if I were you.
Yeah, they're announcing this shit. And it's about to go down. Don't know when, but it's close.
That is the first public admission from Trump and the White House that they lack the cards. They are not in the seat in which he tries to say that we've been in, and this is about to become a disaster. Last week, going on a week now, he said we're 4 weeks from disaster. He said this himself on camera, and now he is telling the whole world that a U.S. Great Depression is on the horizon. He's warned.
A U.S. Great Depression? What about a global Great Depression? I mean, shit, no. A global great collapse. The America ain't going, is in a depression right now, but it's collapsing. And it ain't gonna get built up. But for the rest of the world, it's collapsing too. Even though they trying to build up a new world order, that shit gonna collapse too, because the Lord gonna fuck that shit up too. But hell, there ain't no. I mean, we in a depression right now, and it's gonna be collapsing when this shit crashes. The banks and all that shit crash. Anyway, back to the video.
You flat out because there's rules to the game. He said it. A bunch of people missed it. You need to share this and get this out there and tell people, hey, if you're not seeing what's going on, they're about to reach.
Man, these people too fucking stupid.
He said the whole globe, the entire planet.
But nothing wrong with telling them, especially telling them this is the work of Yahweh Shema Shah. And warning about the chip implant. But these people too stupid not even take this serious. I'm not taking that back, man. This is only for the elect of Israel. But the rest of the people, you stupid.
Planet. He said the strait will never open if there's no Iran deal. There hasn't been, and they're giving 60 days. That is 2 months. That's a lot longer than 4 weeks. And if you can do the math, you clearly see there's a problem. We have people flipping out there saying that you better stock up on supplies.
You need to stock up on those prayers to Yahweh Shema Shah.
Price of fertilizer itself, they're stating right now, is going through the roof. That the ingredients and everything that you need for all your food just got way more expensive. Your grocery bills are about to soar too. And they've come out and they said Warsh and all them are expected to raise rates 3 times this year. They are planning to crush this place. All the warning signs are there. I've covered them. I've told you. It's all there. I don't know what else to say when Trump comes out and makes a statement like that about a U.S. Great Depression. I'd have your ducks in a row and I'd have some kind of plan on supplies.
No, shut up. Talking about his plans. There ain't no wrong with having some stuff, supplies. Man, bro. But what if when you get to that shit? Man, I'm saying that's why it's always best to get right with the Lord to your best ability. Because wherever you at, the Lord be with you. If the Lord be with you. Because you can't always be with your supplies. Shit. Yeah, if you with the Lord be with you, shit, you don't have to worry about that junk.
Because at some point here, it's going to hit, and the herd is going to...
And no, I'm not drunk. I ain't been drinking. If you think I sound like a drunk right now, but I'm just eating a peanut butter bar. And I'm tired, too. But I ain't drunk.
stampede.
I haven't drunk anything in years. Just don't care about it.
And to get stuff, you need to
Not really years. It's been months.
get caught in it. You've had plenty of time, advance warning, to do something. So I wish you well. Join me for the live streams going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yeah, you heard it from this whore's mouth. This orange nigger mouth. See what else we got. I'm telling you, shit coming to an end, bro. Let me see. Let me go ahead and get this one.
For most of the past 2 years, we have been asking the same question. When will interest rates finally come down? Well, now a new question is emerging, and that question is, what if interest rates are about to go higher again? On June the 18th, Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh delivered his first major policy message since taking office, and the markets are taking notice. His remarks suggest that the Federal Reserve is prepared to maintain a much tougher stance on inflation than many observers and many experts had anticipated. Now, this is very much against President Trump's economic advice. Trump wants the Fed to cut rates, as you know, and
now that's not going to happen. No.
I've discussed multiple times here on my channel, but we'll talk about that in a second. Now, more importantly, markets are increasingly pricing in the possibility of another U.S. interest rate hike before the end of 2026. At first glance, one additional rate hike may not sound too dramatic, but when combined with similar moves by central banks around the world, it could have major consequences for global growth, for financial markets, government debt, and even for geopolitical stability. Today, in this video, we're going to examine why the Federal Reserve is turning more hawkish, why central banks across the world are moving in the same direction, and why this synchronized, if you will, tightening cycle could become one of the biggest economic stories of 2026. Now, remember that you can watch full episodes for free on my Substack and Patreon. So if you're willing to watch an entire episode for free, no ads, you're welcome to follow the links in the video description below, become a subscriber, support my work, and I would be happy to deliver more news, more commentary, and more analytics to your inbox on a daily basis. For much of the post-pandemic period, central banks were fighting a common enemy, which is inflation, of course. Interest rates were raised aggressively throughout 2022, as I'm sure many of you recall, 2023, and then again in 2024. By 2025, many observers and many experts expected the battle to be largely won. Falling energy prices, easing supply chain disruptions, and slowing economic growth appeared to be creating sort of that room for rate cuts. But inflation has proven remarkably stubborn. It was anything but transitory, as we know very well. Even after significant tightening, many economies continue to experience elevated service sector inflation. They continue to experience wage pressures and, of course, persistent price increases. Kevin Warsh's latest remarks suggest that the Federal Reserve is not prepared to, let's say, declare a victory prematurely. So Warsh is not about to do what Trump has been asking him to do. Instead, the Fed appears increasingly focused on preventing a second inflation wave, especially after the war in Iran destabilized the U.S. economy as well as the global economy. And this is significant because central banks' credibility is everything. Policymakers fear repeating the mistakes of the 1970s when inflation appeared to be under control, only to surge again after policy was relaxed too early, too soon. So as a result, the Federal Reserve is signaling that interest rates may need to remain elevated for longer than markets previously expected. The immediate market reaction was very telling, in my opinion. Treasury yields moved higher, the US dollar strengthened, and investors began adjusting expectations for future monetary policy. Now, you may ask at this point, well, why does this even matter? Well, because the Federal Reserve does not operate in isolation, of course. When US interest rates rise, the effects actually ripple across the global financial system. The United States dollar remains the world's dominant reserve currency. Governments, corporations, and banks around the world have borrowed trillions of dollars in dollar-denominated debt. When US rates increase, borrowing costs increase globally. A stronger dollar also creates additional pressure. Countries that must repay debt in dollars suddenly face higher financing costs. That's bad news. Emerging markets become particularly vulnerable because capital tends to flow toward higher yielding US assets. Now, what do investors do? Investors can earn more money holding dollar assets, and that makes emerging market investments comparatively less attractive. As money leaves developing economies, currencies weaken, borrowing costs rise, and economic growth slows. This dynamic has played out repeatedly throughout modern financial history, but this time there is another factor that is making the situation potentially more dangerous. The Federal Reserve is not alone. Around the world, central banks are increasingly moving in the same direction. This is synchronized, as I said in the beginning of this video. The European Central Bank has already raised rates. Several other major G10 central banks are signaling that additional tightening may be necessary too. Now, even Japan, which I just uploaded an entire video dedicated to Japan and that ticking time bomb that it has created, but even Japan, long considered considered the world's monetary outlier, has begun normalizing policy. And this may be one of the most remarkable developments in global finance this time. For decades, Japan maintained near zero interest rates while most major economies operated under very different conditions. Now that era is ending, Japan's policy rate has reached its highest level in more than 3 decades. And I discussed it in greater detail in a separate video, which you're welcome to watch next. Well, this shift has enormous implications. For many years, Japanese investors actually preferred foreign yields because domestic returns were negligible. If Japanese interest rates continue rising, more capital may remain inside Japan. And so some funds could even return home, which is repatriation. This process, which is effectively capital repatriation, as I just said, has the potential to affect bond markets worldwide, particularly the United States. At the same time, Europe is tightening as well. The European Central Bank remains concerned about inflation despite slowing economic growth. And so the result is a synchronized tightening cycle that involves many of the world's most important central banks. Historically, synchronized tightening periods have often produced economic slowdowns. The reason is, of course, very straightforward. Interest rates influence almost every aspect of economic activity. Higher rates increase mortgage costs. Higher rates make business investments more expensive. Higher rates discourage borrowing and also discourage spending. And higher rates increase debt servicing costs for governments, for corporations, and even households. So the world today is carrying record levels of debt. As you know, I mentioned this very frequently here on my channel. Global debt exceeds $300 trillion at this time. Many governments expanded borrowing dramatically during the pandemic years, and it just continued growing. Corporations accumulated significant debt during the era of ultra-low interest rates, and now, to service that debt, they are going to have to pay more in interest costs. And of course, I'm talking about the United States here as well. Consumers in many countries increased borrowing as well, and now they have to meet their debt obligations too. When interest rates rise across multiple economies simultaneously, servicing that debt becomes substantially more expensive, and this can create difficult trade-offs.
That's it for that.
This is America, and this is a special episode on the affordability crisis in the United States.
When costs exceed incomes, people are forced to make painful trade-offs.
Stagnating incomes and rising costs mean more and more people are having to decide whether they go further into debt.
Or if they choose to give up food,
fuel, and medicine in order to get by.
Affordability is a serious challenge from one coast to the other. It doesn't matter
if you're middle class
or on a low or fixed income. Everyone is feeling the pinch. So
Hagar chapter 1 verse 6. Ye have so much and bring in little. Let me zoom in. Ye have so much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put into a bag with holes. So you work so hard with very little, you ain't got enough to eat or drink or bathe your butt with. And I'm talking about drinking like water. Yeah, you can't afford your utilities. Yeah. You know, you can't afford to get some new clothes to replace the old clothes that been worn out. They got holes in your drawers and holes in your socks, and you know how that be. Shit, you gotta either stitch it up, patch it up, or just be all holy with your feet, you know, being exposed, you know, in your drawers, you know, being holy. But anyway, you ain't got enough money to save, so pretty much you're just a poor ass critter. But on this side of the world, we just praying, Lord, we ain't poor when we have faith in Yahweh Shema Shah. We just pray the Lord keep us faithful and patient in them to come and make things change for the better, instead of this shit right here that's all so worse.
Let's take a closer look
at the affordability crisis in the United States.
For people right across America, everything has been getting more expensive. From food to fuel, healthcare to heating, everyone's feeling the pain. But if you're a pensioner or living on a low or unpredictable income, that's when people are being forced to make some very tough decisions. A mother weighing up how to feed her family with how to get to work. The elderly deciding whether to buy...
That Hagar, chapter 1, verse 6. They got to make a choice. What you going to do? Is either this or that. Because you can't afford it all together, because... And then you got other bills to pay for. If you pay all of it, then you're going to be broke as hell. You got to let go of one bill to get paid to this bill, and then, you know, anyway.
All or some of the...
It's hard times building up. You better seek Yahweh Shema Shah.
medicine they need. That's the reality of the affordability crisis here in the US, but it's not just food and gas prices that have been the problem. It costs more to insure homes. Health insurance has soared, electricity bills are up. All of those factors combined are pushing people who used to have financial breathing space to the brink of poverty. Well, the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding to end the war with Iran has helped ease the financial pressure just slightly, but it will still take months for prices to fall to pre-war levels. Well, we've sent our teams to 5 different states to see how the affordability crisis is affecting people. Kristen Salumi begins our special report from Manhattan in New York.
New York is home to some of the most expensive real estate in the country. And it's not just the fancy high-rises on Billionaires Row. Prices are high all around the city.
About 2/3 of New York households are rentals, and rents hit new records this year. In Manhattan, the median now tops $5,000 a month.
We still have some bagels.
Forcing some families to make tough choices, even families in working-class neighborhoods who own their home.
So this is the space. We have the bathroom.
Kat Casey is a clinical social worker. She uses part of her home as an office during the week, but rents it out to tourists on the weekends to help make ends meet.
Pick out the chippies you want.
Her husband works on the technical side of the theater industry, and with 3 children, they have to get creative to make ends meet.
We have gotten smart and had to get smarter and tighter along the way with eating out and groceries. And so we've had to shift into buying bulk meats at Costco and then freezing them in smaller portions. But it is a constant consideration in our lives of, where can we be a little bit more efficient?
All roads lead to the chip implant. I mean, I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Well, I'm almost at the end of this video. But all roads lead to the chip implant. Just a reminder. Just want to refresh your memory.
Cost of food is rising too.
As of April, grocery prices.
Then the mark of the beast, the chip implant. It ain't no goddamn sin. What's the next thing they said? Was it IUIC? First they said it was sin. Now it's religion, or what is it? I forgot what is it now. They changing it up now. I don't know. I can't remember, but whatever they say, man, if it ain't the chip implant, fuck them niggas. All these folks that saying, if it ain't the microchip, the RFID microchip implant that goes in your right hand or your left hand or your feet or your butt cheeks or your titty, big titty, small titty. If you got a man with titties, then them man boobs, then they go in that too. If you want it that way, hell, people weird like that. But ultimately, Esau want a brain chip inside your ass. All them microchip implants is all about it's a tracking device, a GPS features, and you can use it as a digital wallet and all that shit, but pretty much put cash in, your ID in and all that stuff. That's the mark of the beast. If you get it, your ass is grass. You're going to be at Modo by that lake of fire burning with brimstone. Yeah, because all this shit is leading to that. Alright, back to the video. I just want to say all that.
Nationwide have gone up 3.2% over last year, and some basic staples are even higher. Things like ground beef, coffee, and tomatoes.
In the last year, the federal government has made it tougher to qualify for food assistance.
The city of New York has a network of food pantries and mobile markets like this one designed to help people in need, no questions asked. And in the last 5 years, they've noticed a very disturbing trend. The number of families with children seeking food assistance has doubled.
City Harvest.
And a lot of folks coming from other countries. They migrants. Yeah, so more mouths to feed.
Estimates their food pantries receive 1 million visits a month from families with children.
The high cost of living is one of the...
I mean, yeah, more mouths to feed. And the more people losing their jobs, more mouths to feed or give up. I mean, food to be given from those food banks.
Main reason residents have been fleeing New York in recent years. Their top destination, New Jersey, across the Hudson River.
That makes it even better. Ain't they just expensive too? I mean, I don't know those areas, but I've heard they pretty expensive too.
Within commuting distance. Their second most popular destination, Florida. And that is where we find Phil Lavelle.
Yeah, Kristen, this is why lots of New Yorkers and people from other states migrate south to Florida. You've got the sunshine, the beaches, that illusion of an idyllic lifestyle. But there is a darker financial side to life here. There it is, insurance. And this is a big...
tropical storms and hurricanes and shit.
Problem for a lot of people.
I'm 51 and facing palliative care.
That's Leah, and this is her home, a car parked on waste ground near Tampa.
I didn't give up my whole career and everything and everyone just to come down to my hometown and die in my SUV. That's not what I'm here for.
But where she lives, that is the least of her worries. Leah has severe health issues.
I'm end stages of anorexia and bulimia, and I'm to be under care of a cardiologist. It's going to end my life.
She tells us she desperately needs help.
Just a few weeks ago, I was almost in full-blown cardiac arrest.
But
she looked like she be in her, at least in her 30s. But shit, she look wasted, bro. She look like she in her 50s.
She has no...
I mean, you could kind of tell she's in her 30s, early or maybe late 20s, early 30s. But shit, with that whatever disorder she got, it making her age fast.
Medical insurance, so no safety net.
I'm worth helping, you know, absolutely. And I'm worth insurance. I'm worth going to see a cardiologist. I know I can get myself well.
Oh, I thought they were talking like home insurance or they talking about health insurance.
But I can't do it by myself. I need my helpers.
People like...
Who's her helpers? I don't know. Shit.
Leah simply fall through the system here, and this is why. Although nationally there is some protection for those with little money coming in, here, no income, no dependent children, those people in Florida, they simply don't register. And health insurance is only part of the story, because remember where this state is situated geographically, by the warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf Coast. Hurricanes are a fact of life. This state gets more than any other. 41% of those that make landfall hit Florida. On average, that is nearly 7 separate billion-dollar weather disasters a year. Here on the state's west coast, they had 2 big ones back-to-back in 2024. Helene caused catastrophic flooding. 13 days later, Milton's winds devastated communities and spawned tornadoes. A combined cost of more than $7 billion in insurance payouts. So you have health insurance, then there is hurricane or wind insurance. On top of that, there is flood insurance, which is mandatory for some people with a mortgage. Why not also throw in auto insurance, because people have got to drive. They all start to add up. And then for some people it comes down to...
Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me, well, wind and flood, yeah, it's got to be separate. Anyway.
A simple choice. Which of these can they afford to lose or not?
You're going to have to say fuck all that shit. You're going to have a roof over your head. And hell, a lot of times these motherfuckers say that you got to have home insurance for that. Yeah, I don't know. This place sucks, bro. Man, this shows you that this ain't your risk.
To lose.
I woke my husband up at midnight and said we have to start moving things upstairs. Water's coming in.
Linda's home was flooded by hurricane.
Let's get out of Florida. Let's see what else they got to say. Oh, well, yeah. Well, I guess this is the West Coast because I see fire in the little box. Here we go. Yeah, this is the West Coast, California.
Bill, here in California, we have the same insurance problem, but different natural disasters. Here, it's mudslides and earthquakes and wildfires. Most of the town of Pacific Palisades back there was wiped out in last year's fires. People were lucky to get out with their lives and an insurance policy that maybe covered most of their homes. Now comes the rebuilding and reinsuring at skyrocketing prices if you can find insurance at all. Life in California.
Yeah, they're trying to get people into these damn, I'm assuming inside those, speak as a man, pretty much, yeah, they try to put their ass in these smart cities or some kind of affordable box. They got to get the microchip. Yeah, anyway. Let me see what time it is. Man, I feel sleepy right now. I was supposed to see, yeah, here we go, 47 minutes in. Alright, I ain't gonna play no more of this. If you want to watch the rest of the video, be my guest. They go to the title, they go chat. I'm gonna play this last video, and then I gotta cut my backyard. Hopefully I don't fall asleep before I do that.
Gas taxes coming at you this summer driving season as Apple raises prices on all consumer electronic devices. Rice is the new boogeyman. And please remember to live while you're busy surviving. So starting you off, these 6 states celebrating America's 250th anniversary by raising your gas tax. Go for it. California at the front of the list. You knew it. You knew it. Washington, Illinois, Maryland, Virginia, and Mississippi are scheduled to see higher state gas taxes. Wait a minute. I thought we were trying to do away with taxes for the emergency because of the whole oil thing in the Middle East. I guess these 6 states didn't get the message. And just a quick note for you, in Asia, the gas prices and the diesel prices are all falling. Yeah, this week they're supposed to lower prices by...
Well, hell, they falling at the moment. I don't know what it where I'm at. It's like 330 or 340 for unleaded, and diesel is like 450 to 40, no 440. But shit, soon they're gonna go up. They're gonna go up.
A percentage.
Or it's gonna run low. Like they said, they only got like, in this video it says a 9-month window. Shit, with Trump talking about we got 4 weeks for the, I guess for the well runs dry, or the oil and all that shit runs dry. Anyway, I don't know when it's gonna officially be, but all I can tell you, man, try to get prayed up with Yahweh Shema Rashah. People talking about some stocking up on food and water, which that's wise, but don't put your faith in it, cause that shit ain't guaranteed. But who's gonna be always with you? The Lord. If the Lord be with you, that food ain't gonna always be with you. That ammo and that gun ain't gonna be always with you. And you try to stock up on all this stuff, it ain't gonna always be with you. It's gonna be in one place. But with the Lord, He gonna be with you all the time. Lord willing, the Lord be with you all the time.
But the rest of, seems the Western world, the prices continue to increase. Doesn't make sense. It's so reliant on oil imports out here, and just even the announcement and maybe a tanker coming in, and then the prices drop immediately. But back in the States, we got the refineries, we got the oil production, and then prices keep increasing. There's a disconnect here, and I wonder how much it has to do with the taxes that we're all paying. And if it's such an emergency, should these taxes not have been withdrawn by now? And right along with lubricants and that sort of oil-based chemical, Nissan oil changes could get harder as dealers ration motor oil. This is from last month. So this is dealer-specific. They're going to be rationing 5W30 and 0W20 Nissan genuine motor oils. The dealers get first priority over it.
Man, shit. I'm about tired of driving anyway.
But then they in turn get to decide who gets the oil change. And you know it's going to be the fleet vehicles from other companies that are running within that are getting service from Nissan. You as an individual are going to be left last in line as always.
Yeah, because on fleet vehicles, I would say guaranteed to get their contracts. They got no contracts.
So corporations help corporations, which, well, that's their whole, that's what they're in business for, is to make more money. So businesses help businesses first. Keep that in mind. You as an individual are always going to be last in line for everything, unless you own a business. The story I covered last month as well, they can't make printed circuit boards anymore. This was going to drive the price of consumer electronics anyway, and woo, that did not take long now, did it? You knew this was coming, the price rise in all consumer electronics, and it's here. Apple to raise prices due to memory chip shortage, so they say. It's not a shortage and such, we're in a gray area here. And I love how, unfortunately, price increases are unavoidable. It's almost like when Johnny Depp and I forget who the girl was, flew to Australia with the 2 dogs and they didn't take him through quarantine and they got caught and they sent that public apology where they were just mocking him going, oh, we are so sorry. It's exactly the same thing. They're sitting on there on the news broadcast going, oh, we're so sorry. It is unavoidable. We have to do this. And it was just almost like they took the Johnny Depp script out of that thing. We're doing our best to mitigate huge, or should I say huge, increases that are being passed to us. Yeah, from who? You're the primary producer of this. Come on, you're vertically integrated from top to bottom. Oh, you're going to raise prices on yourself? Okay.
All right, I'm going to stop right there. That's enough of this. If you want to watch the rest of it, be my guest. They go to title, they go to channel. Yeah, you get it. Everything going up. He say 9 months window. Shit, could be 1 month window. We never know. That's why it's best for you right now to seek the Lord before it's too late. Yeah. And repent. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 3. In a day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the keepers be the people that keep the financial system running, from the banks, the stocks, anything involved money, that house is crumbling. It's trembling and it's dying, and the Lord's going to kill it. And the strong man shall bow themselves, and the grinder cease, because there are few that be your jobs. And that shit is being, ain't that many people getting hired. And those that look out the windows be darkened. The future of America and the rest of the world is looking pretty grim and negative and bad. And the door shall be shut in the streets. Be big businesses, small businesses closing up. When the sound of the grinding is low, be businesses or anybody, well, not just business, but I mean, jobs or work, anything that got something to do with work, like anything that's making noises, like, you know, a mechanic shop, you hear wrenches wrenching and daggone impact drives going, or just all kind of shit. Air brakes on a semi truck, you ain't gonna hear that as much. Most of the noise you're gonna hear gunshots, explosions, and screams, and babies crying and shit. Yep, and people cussing at each other because things are shutting down. There ain't gonna be no damn hustle and bustling, going to job, going to work, doing this and that. Fuck no. It's gonna be about survival. Gonna be busting heads and splitting wigs, and some people be eating their kids. Yep. When the sound of the grinding gets low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird. Yeah, about the birds tweeping and twerping, and you got the roosters cook-a-doodle-doing, or either the alarm clock too wake you up. That'd be like a digital bird or whatever. All the daughters of music shall be brought low. Music suck, all entertainment sucks. Shit, that's all I gotta say, man. But things are falling, collapsing, it's failing. What won't fail is Yahweh Shemal Shah with these prophecies now, because they're the ones who making this stuff happen. So the best thing you Israelites need to do is seek Yahweh Shemal Shah now by seeking his prophecies and take heed what to say and try to build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shemal Shah by praying Yahweh Shemal Shah, praising Yahweh Shemal Shah, worshiping Yahweh Shemal Shah, fearing Yahweh Shemal Shah, repenting Yahweh Shemal Shah. To all the men out there pushing this truth and nothing but the truth, in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Shemal Shah, keep on preaching, keep on teaching, keep the faith and trust strong. Yahweh Shemal Shah, stay humble. And for you few sisters out there taking heed, keep your faith and trust strong. Yahweh Shemal Shah, stay humble, stay in order with your man. If you ain't got no man, stay in order. Yahweh Shemal Shah. Peace and bless to the hopeful elect, and all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Shalom.